Hello everyone, and welcome you all to another chapter of the JavaScript beginners tutorial. So now we are on our chapter number 6, where I'll be showing you guys the understanding about JavaScript console API. So we already do have seen the console, how you will be able to open up your console, go to your inspect option. From there, it will show you the element option, and from there underneath you'll have the console page, like how you will be able to work inside the console API. So we'll be understanding about all of that here in this particular chapter. So let's not waste much time and let's get started. So over here on my screen, as you guys can see that I do have the same HTML file in which we guys were working. So now let's come here and we'll just look onto the console. So first here, we already do have understood that where we guys can basically type our JavaScript. So I need to make sure that it's just on top of the closing of the body. And over here, I need to make sure that I type it inside the script. So we already do have understood, like if you do want to type something inside the console, you need to make sure you type console.log. And here you guys can just put out your message right over here. So if I just right click, let's open with live server. Now let's right click, okay, and let's click on inspect. And here you guys can see that using console.log, here I do have the message. Okay, so here I can see that I do have my message right over here. I have also showed you guys about the alert function right over here. Like if you do want any kind of alert sign on top of your page once it opens, okay, you will can use this alert function right over here. So now we are also going to learn about different kind of option. Let's say if you do want to type anything, okay, so if you do want to come here, and from here if you want to type document dot write, okay, so here I do have this document dot write option. Let's open parenthesis, and now here you guys can see I can just type here inside this double quote document write is here, okay, and if I just save this and let's come here, and you guys can see that now I do have document write is here line right over here. So if I just come here, and if you do want me to type, let's say you guys can also type the same thing right over here, okay. So if I just go to this elements option, okay, so from the elements option you guys can just check this one out as well. Okay, so if you do want to come right over here, or if you do want to check anything, you guys can come here and you guys can just check out the whole body. Let's say here inside this particular script, okay, you guys can see that I do have all of this option inside this particular script page. Okay, so here you guys can see I do have these options, and from here I can just take this one down as well. So here you guys can see that if I do want to select this, I do have this document right is here. Okay, so the same way I can come here, and also over here I can just type document dot write, and over here you guys can just type your thing. This is the only document, and let's close parenthesis, and here you guys can see now this is how you guys can just type this thing out as well, okay. But over here you should not use this document dot write option, okay, so you guys can come here And let's come here. Let's just refresh this particular page. And now I will just come here into my HTML document and let me just comment this down as well. Okay, so I will just come here and I will just comment this down as well. So for debugging and all, basically this console.log is used. Okay, and you can just use the console option as well. But over here now inside the script function, okay, so I'm gonna use some other option like console dot word. Okay, so you guys can just type here console dot word. That basically means wording. Okay, so if you do want to come here and if you just want to type console dot word, and after that let's open parenthesis, let's open the double quote, and this is wording. Okay, so if you do want to place out a wording, so you guys can come here and you guys can just place out a wording, and from here control S, and now let's come here and you guys can see in my console it is coming as a wording. Okay, so it will just show me this one as this sign. Okay, you guys can come here and you guys can basically check that it's showing me with this particular color that this one is basically a wording. Okay, so the same way you guys can come here and instead of using this console.word, you guys can come here and you guys can type console.error. Okay, so if you want to show this one as an error, so I will just type over here, this is an error. So I will just type this thing down over here, Control S to save it. Let's come over here. And now this is signifying me with a cross mark on the side. And this is showing me that this is an error. Okay. So here, this will basically show quite like this in my console. And also over here, if you want to clear out the console, you guys can just go into your code and you guys can just type console dot clear, and let's come here and from here control S to save it, and here you guys can see that your console was cleared. So now instead of making changes over here in my HTML document, let's come here into my server. And from here, let's try to type from here itself. Okay, so you guys can just use the console from here as well. So I will just type console dot assert. Okay, so over here, using console dot assert, what I can do is, let's say I want to check that whether two values are the same or not. Okay, so if I just put, let's say 7, and I will just put double equals to 8, and if I just close the parenthesis and if I click on enter, here you guys can see it will show me that assertion failed. Okay, so now let's come here, let's just copy this thing down, let's paste it right over here. But over here, if I just put 7 equals to 7, and if I click on enter, here you guys can see it's not showing me an error. Okay, so the same way, if you do want to come here and let's say if I just put 7 equals to, let's say 9, or let's come here, let's put 9 minus 4, and let's close this one as well. And if I click on enter, here you guys can see using this console.assert, it's showing me an error because 9 minus 4 is not equals to 7. Okay, so here if your equation is not matching with the value which you have provided, it will show you an error using this console.assert function. So at last, over here, we do have understood that if the condition provided using the console.assert is not correct, it will turn into a fail statement. But if, like, let's say this assert, like console.assert, let's right click, let's copy, let's paste it right over here. Let's say 7 minus 2. And if I click on enter here, you guys can see it is showing me that this is undefined. And here it shows that this is a true statement because it's not showing me any error. Okay, so if you do want to clear your console, you guys can come here and you guys can clear your console as well. Okay, so most of the time, we are not going to use this console.warn and error most of the time, but over here we are going to use this console.log to type anything inside your console. Okay, so now let me just copy this thing. Otherwise, let me just name this one. Okay, so let's click on enter and I will just comment this thing out and I will name this one as the JavaScript console API. Okay. And the full form of API is application programming interface. Okay. So I will just type this thing down right over here. And at the same time that we do understand how it actually works. Okay. So now let's come over here. And from here now I will just copy this one, Control C to copy. Let's click on Control V right over here. And let me just comment these things out over here. Okay, so let me just comment this out. And also let me just comment this thing out as well. Okay, so I'll just come here. I will comment this one also. And let me just name this one as different types of printing in JavaScript. Okay, so I'm just segregating these things out over here. If you do want to name it or if you do want to number these things, you guys can come here and you guys can number these things as well. So let's click on enter that you guys can understand this in a better way. Okay, so this is how it works. As you guys can see now, if I just click on Control S and if I right over here, you guys can see that over here now I do have one string. Okay, and I do have printed one warning and I do have printed one error right over here. Okay, so if you just come here into your VS Code, let's say if you do want to type different values or different element inside this, let's say I will just go with a number as well. Okay, so if you do want to print out a number, Control S, let's come over here. You guys can see there is a syntax error. Okay, so for that, let's come here and let's just put out a comma. Okay, and now you guys will be able to see that it basically works. Okay, so here you guys can see a string, a number, and over here I do have printed this console.warn. I do have printed a warning and also an error over here in my website which I am creating. So in our next class, we're gonna learn the different types of printing or how you will be able to write JavaScript in different ways. So I hope to see you all in the next chapter. Till then, take care and goodbye everyone.